Good morning, students. We are going to continue chapter 5th of NCERT, that is inheritance and variation. Students, this part is really very important from CBSE point of view. So keep your biology notebook along with you to practice classes by yourself and to pen down important key points. First of all, you need to understand the term allele in respect of chromosome. As you can see, a set of homologous pair of chromosome is being presented along with demarcation of a particular gene which controls the flower color. Here, on the first chromosome, the flower color is purple, and on the second chromosome, the flower color is white. Here, the trait is a single one, that is flower color, and its alternate form, that is purple and white, are being presented on the homologous chromosome. These alternate forms are referred as allele. These alternate forms are actually the two different forms of the same gene, that is same trait, same gene, that is flower color. And these are the two forms, that is purple and white. However, locus refers to the position of a gene on chromosome. Here, the flower color gene is being presented, and this gene controls the purple color flower. And on the same coincided position on another homologous chromosome, there is a location of a flower color gene which controls the white flower color. So these are the location of the genes and referred as locus, or the position or location of the gene on the chromosome. Now comes to the two important term, that is homozygous and heterozygous. As you can see, there are two alternate form of a same trait are being present. This situation is referred as heterozygous. You can compare it with the monohybrid, typical monohybrid cross hybrid, that is F1 hybrid, capital T and small t. This is the heterozygous condition. Now comes to the homozygous dominant. If the same genes are being present on both of the homologous chromosome, that refers to the homozygous condition. And if the dominant character is being present on both of the chromosome, that will be homozygous dominant. If on the both chromosome the recessive trait is being present or the recessive gene is being present, then it will be the homozygous recessive phenomena. Okay, so now you have clear cut understanding about all of the concept which we have discussed in the previous tutorial, that is allele, gene, and homozygous, heterozygous. In homozygous we have discussed homozygous recessive and homozygous dominant. I hope this part is clear. Come to the next section of this tutorial. Topics which are being covered in this tutorial are incomplete dominance, dihybrid cross, Mendel's law of inheritance, pleiotropy, polygenic inheritance, chromosomal theory, linkage and recombination, and ultimately sex determination. First of all, we need to understand the concept of incomplete dominance. However, we have discussed in a previous tutorial as well. Incomplete dominance refers to that kind of situation where both dominant and recessive are unable to express themselves in the F1 hybrid. And both of them, that is recessive and dominant, again reappear in the F2 generation. This is a typical case of incomplete dominance. Here, one more example is being presented, that is the case of pea seeds. Here you can see the seeds are the round and having large starch grain, and the seed is wrinkled having a small starch grain. If the starch grain size is the large one, the seed will be the round, and if the starch grain size is small, then the seed will be wrinkled. If we have taken the pure breed or the pure line or true line of the type consider of the pea plant, and we have crossed them, we have the F1 hybrid. And this F1 hybrid is quite unique, as in term it will express the round phenotype, so we can consider round is the dominant one, and The size of the starch grain is neither the large one and neither nor the small one. It is quite intermediate or between the two, and it is being presented along with the pictorial view of the starch grain. This is just the pictorial representation. Here the starch grain size is quite enormous, and these are small in the case of recessive trait, but in F1 hybrid the starch grain size is neither large nor the small one. It is quite intermediate between the two. So this is the typical example of a incomplete dominance. This example is in the continuation of the codominance text. So please beware while reading. That is the example of incomplete dominance. Okay. So move to the next part. Dihybrid cross. Dihybrid cross is also referred as inheritance of two genes. Here, two pair of contrasting trait has been selected in two different plants. Here we have selected round and yellow, and on the another plant we have selected the contrast character of the selected one, that is wrinkled and green. When we have cross pollinated, we have F1 generation which shows the dominant character, that is round and yellow. And to get the F2 generation, we have to self pollinate the F1 hybrid. Okay, so this is the series we have to follow for Mendel cross. Here, the full view of the dihybrid cross, we have taken two traits in a single plant. That is the case of dihybrid cross. And we have F1 hybrid, which shows the dominant character. On selfing, we have the gametes which are similar in case of male and female. In female, it is a egg, and in case of male these are the pollen, but the genetic composition will be the similar one because we have done the self pollination. Now we have the 16 outcome after just multiplying the uh, genes of egg along with that of the pollen. We have 16 genotype, and you can easily recognize the recessive trait again reappear in the after generation, however in small number, but it will reappear in the after generation. Now comes to the phenotypic and genotypic ratio. It is 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1. But you have to write along with the phenotype being expressed. That is round and yellow will be 9, and round and green 3, wrinkle and yellow 3, wrinkle and green will be 1. Now comes to the genotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio, we will have almost 9 genotype in the dihybrid cross. These are capital R, capital R, capital Y, that is 1. That is only expressed in the once in this dihybrid cross. And similarly, you can count down the number of genes being present in the F2 generation. Okay, so this will ultimately get you the genotype of the F2 generation. Now comes to the Mendel's law of inheritance. By doing monohybrid and dihybrid cross, Mendel come to declare three laws. These are laws of dominance, law of segregation, law of independent assortment. First of all, we are going to discuss about law of dominance. As the word suggests, that one of the character of the contrasting pair will appear in the F1 generation. That character will referred as dominant one. Whatever the character being expressed in the F1 hybrid will be the dominant one. Okay, and the character which is unable to express itself, or the character which is being masked, is referred as recessive one. Now Mendel have a clear-cut idea that these characters are controlled by independent or the discrete unit, which are referred as factors. But Mendel was not aware where these factors are being present. Now we are aware that they are being present on the chromosome in terms of genes, but Mendel have no idea about all these terms. He simply referred that characters are being controlled by a discrete unit referred as factors. This law is not universally true, not applicable for all of the process, and we have seen the failure of the Mendel, that is in case of incomplete dominance and codominance. Now come to this law of segregation. This law is universally true for all of the organisms which go for sexual reproduction. So this law is the universal one. Segregation simply refers to the separation of the alleles during gamete formation. When there is a formation of the gamete, the alleles, capital T and small t, will separate and will come in a single way without any sort of blending. Okay, so there will be no blending during gamete formation, and individual gene or allele will move independent of the another one. So there will be the no influence of the two alleles. Okay, so this is very very important. Now comes to the law of independent assortment. Again, this law is not applicable for all of the plant species or sexually reproducing organism. This is not a universal law. And one more speciality being associated with this law, this is not applicable for the monohybrid cross. This is applicable from dihybrid to polyhybrid, any type of cross, but not applicable for the monohybrid cross. According to this law, the two factors of each character assort or separate out independent of the factors of the other characters during gamete formation and randomly get rearranged. When we take two contrasting character in a single plant, the gamete will move, or the factor will move in a gamete independent of the another one. The dominant character can move along with the recessive one, and recessive will move along with the dominant one. Recall from our previous dihybrid cross, you can see during gamete formation we have four types of gamete: capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y, capital Y, small r, and small y, small r. So the dominant form will not always go with the dominant one. It can go with the another recessive form as well. This is what independent assortment talk about. The dominant form will always go with any of the recessive or the dominant one. So this is how the factors or alleles actually work during gamete formation. This law is not independent. This law is not universally true, as we will later see. Some genes or alleles show infatuation or have linkage for for the assortment also. Okay, so this is not the universally acceptable law. Now comes to the next text part of this tutorial. Pleiotropy. Pleiotropy is very very important phenomena where one single gene or one gene is going to control multiple characters or the trait. Here, this is the location of a single gene and it's going to be control three different traits. This is being actually controlled by the metabolic pathway. One example is being presented of the phenylketone urea. This is an exclusive condition where ketone bodies actually secreted out of the urine pathway, and this is done with the help of mutation in a single gene which is responsible for the enzyme production, that is phenylalanine hydroxylase. And mutation in this particular gene will lead to uh, affection of so many phenotype. These are mental retardation or pigmentation in hair and skin texture. So this mutation will ultimately controlling the mental retardation or the IQ level in the organism and pigmentation both in hair and skin. So single gene is going to control multiple trait. This is what pleiotropy all about. Now comes to the polygenic inheritance. This is completely opposite to the pleiotropy. Here multiple genes are going to control single character. Here you can see the dark color in human is being controlled by three different genes, that is A, B and C, and the contrasting form is this, that is white form, is being again controlled by three genes, small s, small b and small c. And in the F1 hybrid, we have capital A, small a, capital B, small b, capital C, and small c. We have intermediate color. And in the F2 generation, we have a series of four skin tones. Okay, that is from the darkness to the lightness. 16 genotypes will be there. 16 or multiple one. Just calculate by yourself. You have to simply multiply. If there are three genes, then how many possible genotypes will be there in the F2 generation? You have to think by yourself and let me know. There is a simple formula for the same. I will tell you later on in the live discussion and how it is going to be calculated. First of all, you find out by yourself how many possible genotypes in the F2 generation, then I will let you know along with the formula. Now comes to the chromosomal theory of inheritance. It was proposed by Sutton and Boveri in 1902, and it came into existence when we have a idea about sperm and egg formation, and these sperm and eggs are going to be responsible for the transmission of character from one generation to the next generation. The heritable factors are being present in the nucleus, and as you know, in the Mendelian form, these are the alleles which occur in pair in form of homologous chromosomes. In the diploid organism, sperms and eggs are going to be fused, and diploidy is being prevalent in the further generation. Genes are located on the chromosome in a linear pair. This is very, very important. We need to understand this with the help of annotation. If this is a chromosome, here genes will be present in the linear order 1, 2, 3, and so on. So, genes will always be present in the linear order. This what chromosomal theory talks about. As there are two chromosomes of each kind, that is somatic diploid cells, there must be two genes of each kind. Okay, we have homologous chromosomes, so we have two genes of each kind. Okay, homologous chromosomes synapse each other during meiosis, and that will ultimately lead for the segregation and independent assortment afterwards. So single pair is going to be passed on in each gamete. Okay, so single character is going to be transferred in each of the gamete. This what chromosomal theory talks about, and we already have a great idea about this in class 11th. We have done mitosis and meiosis on the basis of these observations. Now comes to the linkage and recombination. This is very, very important topic, and it is being asked in 2000 recently in 2019. So this topic is very, very important. Linkage and recombination concept was presented by Thomas Hunt Morgan in Drosophila, that is fruit fly, and they study the genes that are sex linked, that are being present on the sex chromosomes. Okay, he observed that when the two genes in a dihybrid cross are located on the same chromosome, the proportion of parental gene combination in the progeny was much higher than the non-parental one. That is non-parental are also referred as recombinant one. Okay, the second point Morgan done, that there is a strong infatuation or linkage between the genes when they are being present on the same chromosome, and if they are being present on the different chromosome, the linkage or the sort of infatuation will be nil. Okay, so when the genes are loosely linked, they show higher percentage of being recombined. Okay, so the recombinant proportion will be quite high. Morgan hybridized yellow-bodied and white-eyed female with brown-bodied and red-eyed male, that is wild type, and intercrossed with that of the F1 progeny. Alfred Stutman was the fellow of T.H. Morgan. He was actually the student of T.H. Morgan, and he arranged genes on the Drosophila chromosome in a linear order and devised chromosome map. Chromosome maps are particularly used to determine the position of the gene and the linkage and recombinant ratio. Okay, so first of all, we need to discuss why Thomas and Morgan preferred Drosophila over pea plant. The flies have many heritable variation which can be easily observed with the help of low microscope. Okay, so there is no special need of any sort of instrument being required. They can be easily grown over ripe mango or banana, and the new generation, the lifespan is quite short, that is 2 weeks, and producing a 100 number of individual after single mating. Female size is quite larger than that of the male, so we can easily demarcate the male and female in the single generation. Animal possesses four pair of chromosome of different sizes. As we have seen in case of pea plant, we have seven pair of chromosome, and in Drosophila we have four pair of chromosomes. The male fly possess XY chromosome and female is going to have XX chromosome. Okay, so this is how Thomas Hunt Morgan explained the concept of linkage. You need to understand this is a sex linked experiment. We have taken XX chromosome of the female and XY chromosome of the male. Similarly, in the cross B, we have taken XX chromosome of the female and XY chromosome of the male. Here you can see the yellow and white gene are being closely associated. They have some sort of infatuation, they have some sort of friendship among themselves. So, how they are going to be transmitted? The parental type, they will avoid any sort of recombination or any sort of formation of new friends. Okay, so they will avoid this type of recombination and have all type of parental one. The recombinant ratio will be quite lesser. In cross B, you can easily demarcate the distance between the gene is quite enormous and they do not show any sort of linkage or infatuation. So the parental type will be quite lesser than the cross one and recombinant ratio will be quite higher than the cross A where the genes are being closely associated. This whole across talks about the parental one and the recombinant one on the basis of the distance between the gene. And the mapping was done by Alfred Sturtevant. Here you can see the possible combination. You can demarcate. First of all, we have device for the male. The rod chromosome is the Y chromosome. So everywhere you have to put the Y chromosome. And then you are going for that of the putting X chromosome after mating. On the parental side there will be no change, but on the recombinant side there will be the change. The only combination that it is going to be fused with a half one of this side, so two new combination will be there. Now similarly for the females, on the parental side we have only two sort of combination. This orange one is going along with the orange one and this orange is going with that of the blue one. So this type of recombination is being presented in terms of parental type. When we are going to talk about total recombination along with the transmission or crossover bridges, we have this much probability. This is going along with this half one and the another rest one is going with the another half one. This type of recombination is only being possible in the recombinant type. Similarly, here you can see, first of all, you have to devise all of the male variety. In the parental type, there will be no change, both in the male and the female. And in the recombinant one, the possible combination when half part of this is being exchanged with this. And in the next one also you can see this half part is being exchanged with the this part. Okay, this half is going to be exchanged with this. So this type of exchange is quite possible in both male and female. You have to draw this cross at least twice to understand the concept of linkage and recombination. Otherwise, the total understanding or the outcome will be zero if you don't practice this cross at least twice. Now comes to the sex determination mechanism. Sex determination is very very important uh, to know about the chromosomal content in different sexes being present in us species. Okay, so finalization of sex at the time of zygote is referred as sex determination. It was first observed by Hanking in terms of X body. He observed that during gamete formation, half of the sperms have a X chromosome, however, half do not have any X type of body, which was later identified as the X chromosome. Okay, so this X body is present in 50% of the chromosome, and this type of X body, you can see, is being absent in 50% of the chromosome. Later, it was identified as the X chromosome. Two types of chromosome are present in the individual: sex chromosome and the autosomes. As you know, we have 22 pair of autosomes and only one pair which is responsible for the determination of the sex, that is sex chromosome. Now comes to the sex determination mechanism. We have to condition, that is male heterogamety and female heterogamety. Male when male are going to produce two different type of sperm, that is referred as male heterogamety. Here you can see XXXY, this is prevalent in the human, and XXO type, we will see the examples in the next text. And when female heterogamety, when female are going to produce two types of eggs, okay, this type of condition is referred as female heterogamety. We have two types of division, that is ZZ, ZW type, ZZ, ZO type. Now comes to the XXXY type of sex determination. This is being present in the Drosophila and including human. A represent the autosomes and XY represent and XX represent the sex chromosome. Autosomes are going to be divided separately in the gamete formation, and one of the gamete will have X chromosome and another one will have the Y chromosome. In female, all the gametes will be of similar type, and after fusion, we have XX for the female and XY for the male type. Now comes to the XXXO type of sex determination. This is prevalent in the grasshopper. Here you can see along with the autosomes, there is XO. This is not O type of chromosome. There will be no another set of homologous chromosome. Okay, so there will be no set of chromosome which can pair with the X type. So some of the gametes will not have any sort of sex chromosome. Okay, so this type of mechanism is referred as XO or X nil type of sex determination. Here the sperms will, some of the sperm will have X body and some will do not have any sort of X body or any sort of sex chromosomes, and the female is going to have all the X chromosome. However, in male we have X nil type of sex chromosome. Okay, X chromosome will be there only for the sex demarcation of the chromosome, and another pair will be missing in the male. Okay, so now come to the ZW type of sex determination. It is prevalent in birds, fall, and fishes. Here, along with the autosomes, we have ZZ type of sex chromosome in male, and in female, we have ZW type of sex chromosome. And you can see the female is going to produce two different types of exogametes, and this is referred as female heterogamety. And in male we have same type of sex chromosome, however in female we have different type of sex chromosomes. Okay, so this is a typical example of female heterogamety being persist in birds, falls, and fishes. Now comes to the ZOZZ type of sex determination. This is not being present in your NCRT text, so be careful while reading. That is, it is seen in cockroaches. Here, the female heterogamety is going to be persist. The male is going to produce similar type of gametes. However, in female, we have two different types of eggs. That is, one having Z and another do not have any sort of sex chromosome. So we have male having the same size, same set of sex chromosome, and in female we do not have same set of sex chromosome. One pair is being missing in female. This is a type of female heterogamety prevalent in cockroaches. Now comes to the sex determination in human. This is quite easy. We have XY type of sex determination mechanism. Out of 23 pair of chromosome, we have 22 autosome and one pair, that is sex chromosome. Females have X chromosome, and male heterogamety is being prevalent. So male are going to produce two types of sex chromosomes. Okay, so one of the student have asked about bar body. Bar body is the inactive form of X chromosome in the female somatic cells. In somatic cells there is no use of X chromosome, so X chromosome is being present in an inactive form, that is highly condensed form, that is referred as bar body. And you can easily demarcate from the amniotic fluid, and which actually helps in sex determination. Here you can see the father is going to produce 44 chromosome which are being divided in the gametes after meiosis 2, and sex chromosome is going to be separated out, that is male heterogamety. Here male is going to produce two types of sperms, and in mother we have a same set of chromosome being present in all sort of gametes or eggs. The female child is going to have 44 autosome along with XX type of sex chromosome, and in male child there will be 44 chromosome along with XY, that is hetero type of a sex chromosome. Now comes to the sex determination in honeybee. Honeybee have different sort of sex determination. Here queen uh, or worker bees are the female one and have different sort of organization altogether. Unfertilized eggs are going to be developed into the drone, and male produces sperm by the mitosis. This is very very important part. And so neither have fathers nor have son, but have grandfathers and grandsons. We can easily say this because the sperms are going to be produced by the process of mitosis. So they do not have any father or any of the son, but they have grandfathers and grandsons. This is very very important aspect related to the honeybee. Now come to the organization of the chromosome in male and female. Here you can see queen is going to be diploid one, and after meiosis it's going to lay eggs having haploid set of chromosome. Some eggs are going to develop by the process of parthenogenesis into male drones, and male are particularly developed by that of the parthenogenesis. They are referred as drone. Okay, and if the eggs are going to be fertilized with a sperm, then the diploid female are going to be produced in terms of queen, in terms of worker bees. These will be the diploid one. Okay, so this how the sex determination actually works into the honeybee. That's all for this tutorial. Thank you.